Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Beginner Builds with myself, Jeff Sosa,
What's up, guys? Frank DeLuca.
and today we are covering Black Mischievous Mastery. This is one of my favorite masteries, not only in just the game, but in Black in general. If I can play Black, this is the mastery I'm playing.
Mm.
So with this mastery, whenever your opponent draws a card, you destroy the top card of your life deck, and you may raise your anger one. And then you have a normal power, which is very reminiscent to Devious Mastery, where you can banish the top card of your opponent's discard pile, so it's the top instead of the bottom, like the old Black Mastery that's now frozen/banned. And then you can discard a random card from your opponent's hand. Now, unlike the old Black Mastery, your opponent does gain the ability to draw a card to replace it. So it's a little more fair, but it is a good way to disrupt your opponent's plans. Just kind of roll the dice, see if you hit what you need, and then the next time your opponent attacks, that attack gains draw a card, which means that you will mill them one, and you can raise your anger one. So a lot of sneaky anger potential in this mastery, as well as just destroying cards from the top of the deck as a bonus from draw effects.
So, of course, with Mistress Master, we paired it up primarily with Anger. While you could consider running maybe like an Unleash build, we really feel like just kind of going for like running raw Anger, keeping MPPV alive while going maybe for like some survival victory is probably the best. So with those choices, it's primarily physical attacks in the stage beat form. We start off with, of course, Black Hug Maneuver. This is just a staple 2 anger card. It's got some endurance. You're literally running it for the anger. Black Combo and Black Dash are kind of in the same vein. 2 anger physical attacks with low damage, but they have some effects on them, with Combo being your anti-wall breaker card primarily, whereas Black Dash is going to be kind of just maybe you go steal an ally, which is kind of neat. That's just something unique to Black, so something to consider. To make up for the, like kind of the lack of any real good anger hate in Black that you would want to run, we have Shoulder Slam and Devastating Blow. Both again are weak stage attacks, but have both anger raising for you and very good anger control as long as some pile control with the Devastating Blow. And finally, another card to consider for some anger hate is Black Dismissal. Again, just very kind of piddly attack, but there's some endurance on there. You have a little bit of anger, management as well.
With the block lineup, we have Black Resistance, Black Corruption, generic energy blocks with anger gain. Well, if you need a little more anger hate or you feel like you do, you have corruption. Black Energized Guard is really good because if you activate the mastery first, then your opponent throws the attack. It has triggered the parenthetical on it, so then you can block a physical or an energy, and you can also choose how you want to raise or lower a player's anger. Then for the physical blocks, we have Black Knee Catch, really good 2 anger block. If you masteried, then you throw this block on your opponent's attack. You've gained 3 anger in one instance, and then you go back to our other key cards, and you can then just black combo and level with no way to really interrupt it. Black Check is also really good as another physical block. Again, raise anger one, lower anger one. A lot of going both ways and 2 anger swings in this deck. So we have a lot of anger options, so that's why we primarily don't see Unleashed in here. And then Time is a Warrior's Tool, again, in every deck. One of. We're good.
And of course, as Jeff was saying, a lot of 2 anger option cards, which is one of the things that makes Black Mistress Anger really powerful. And then that comes in the case of both Black Command and Black Schematics. Black Command is really fun and cool card, whereas you can just discard this card at any point. It's going to give you 2 anger if you banish it. So on a pass, if you don't want to go into combat, you can just drop these and gain passive anger and potentially skip around your opponent's anger hate that they might be holding in hand by leveling outside of combat. Not to mention it does have a power if you do end up drawing into combat, or you can always just opt to discard it at the end of a combat if you draw it. And of course, Black Schematics, again, kind of goes a similar card to the Black Dash, where you do get some deck knowledge, and you get to go steal a drill, which is really good. Generally speaking, ever since this card's come out, drills have been always meta and always will be. We do have a few other events. If you want to, you can kind of toy with numbers as Black Scout Maneuver. This, of course, will be able to eliminate things that you don't want to see your opponent doing. Maybe if you really want to sell yourself on the anger game, you can just knock out all their anger hate, combo pieces, etc. Black Mischief. This card is, of course, if you are a Saiyan, a 2 anger card. Again, more and more 2 anger cards, which is pretty much why you would consider this card. I probably wouldn't run this in anyone who's not a Saiyan. We have Black Nightmare. This is, again, another one of those cards kind of in the same vein as Scout Maneuver, where you can just really kind of start picking out stuff that might impede your game plan. And Stare Down, of course, we vote for Stare Down, Confro over Sphere because of the fact that the hand knowledge is just really good. And being able to use this with a mastery means that your opponent's hands are never safe.
Some other attacks that you could run, just kind of depending on your MP or depending on how you want to run the build. Black Backstrike, just an unpreventable styled attack with raise anger 1. Black Judgment Rush, again, just cost the stage, but then you have some anger hate. Hits, it can be used a second time, so just some ways to get some more damage in. Black Smoothness Drill, just to limit 1 card, but increases your hand size. So even if it's only out for 1 turn, just having that extra card can be really powerful, especially when you're bursting in groups of 2 or 3 anger every few actions. Black Defensive Burst. Again, a lot of physical attacks currently in the meta, so this would be a great card to put into a black deck right now. But sometimes not so much, because if it doesn't hit and you're not really going up against a physical deck, then it feels kind of bad. Then Black Chin Kick, particularly right now with Ginyu running around, this is a really great card, but if your own deck runs allies, then not so much. Just a ways to make sure that allies don't get in your way. And then if it hits, also potentially a 1 or 2 anger card, or even 3. And then Black Lunge, just a good life card damage attack if you're really wanting to have an attack that will deal critical damage, either to get rid of Wall Breaker, Arm Breaker, any of those attached cards that need to be gotten rid of by dealing critical damage.
Mm-hmm. And finally, a few more attacks you can consider. If you are looking for a discard outlet, we do have Black Pressure Points and Black Overhead Burst. Both are anger cards that will allow you to, with the case of Black Pressure Points, you can immediately discard a card, and Overhead Burst on hit, discard a card, also being a 2-anger card as well. And as well, we also have Black Swirl and Black Confidence Shot. So if you want to maybe deal with a lot of the decks that are tutoring cards, or you want to make sure that your opponent isn't able to play a specific card in a combat, or you have a deck that has a lot of hand knowledge, Black Swirl is going to be really powerful, on top of the fact that on hit it does give you 2 anger. And then, of course, Confidence Shot combos really well with the name card package that Jeff was mentioning. If you are an MP that has got some nice named attacks in your deck and is applying some good, able to apply some good stage pressure, Confidence Shot is just one of those cards that can be a complete monster. If this hits, of course, and your opponent's at 0, you can go grab a Black Judgment Rush, for example, and double up into 2 attacks, or whatever name cards that you want.
And it's a really good card if your MP has any damage modifiers, because those are doubled on the attack itself. So if you ran a Gohan or a Vegeta, that stage damage is there. In the MPs that we have chosen, we don't really have much of that stage damage, hence why it's for stage mods.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
But moving on to our MPs, we have 3 really kind of unique MPs, but you could take this Mischievous Engine as a beginner player and really just throw in your favorite character that wants to level up and do fairly well, but these are ones that have great synergy with it. First, we have Android 13. Really drawing on the fact that Android 13 has one of, I would argue, one of the best name cards in the game, with Android 13's Impenetrable Defense, where if this card's discarded or destroyed from your life deck, you may banish it to raise your anger 2. Another uninterruptible, uninteractable 2 anger card that can come from taking damage or from specifically destroying it from your own deck. And there's some ways to do that with some of Android 13's friends. So Android 15 and Android 14 have ways to destroy it from the deck when they come into play or during a planning step, really getting 2 anger bursts here and there. And then, especially if you can get to Android 13's higher levels, even though they don't have anger on it, you can even just camp some of those levels, particularly that level 3 that we all fear from the set 6 and 7 days. Just that level 3 can really punish people and push for that survival victory. And if you feel like you don't have enough anger, then even the level 2, once you get the allies out, pretty much good. You also have access to his other name card, Deadly Bomber, which if it hits can act like a dig for the combat, but it's Android. And as well as fetch you a non-named Android card from the discard pile. So you can run cards like Android Armbreaker, Android Insubordination, potentially in and of itself is even more anger. But the current card you would pretty much go for would be Android Battle Rush. So you can use some of his allies to destroy Android Battle Rush, throw a Deadly Bomber, grab Battle Rush from the discard pile, and then you have some board hate. And then, of course, you have other allies like Android 20 that you can throw in for even more unpreventable damage, and Android 16 to take less damage from life cards.
Of course, the second MP that we chose is going to be Villain Boo. Now, you can, generally speaking, you're going to want to really run like the Fat Boo 1 and 2, and then probably go into the Super Boo 3 and 4. This just gives you the most consistent anger game. You can try to splash in other options, which we do have shown here. We do, of course, you have the option to maybe run the Villain Boo level 1. He's really great into anger matchup mirrors, into stage beat, or sorry, other anger mirrors. And this, of course, is a level that can give you some anger. We do also, you can also try to run the Super 2. This is another level that can give you 2 anger potentially as a reactive power if your opponent has used a power in combat. And it does allow you to go search out for one of his named board cards. So there is that option as well if you'd like to pursue that. If you want to go into the upper levels, you could opt to run the Kid Buu 3 and 4, but these we don't really recommend these as much because they don't have the anger consistency of the 3 and 4 from the Fusion set, whereas the 3 and 4 here have like a blue decapitation-like effect where you can go copy one of those maybe like 2 anger cards that you're running out of your pile versus the 3 and 4 here just kind of being a raw attack. And not to mention this Boo 4, Go Unabsorbed is one of the best level 4s in the game, giving you some card advantage in a lot of different ways, specifically comboing really well with Boo's Absorbing Drill. So there is definitely maybe an incentive to run the Boo 2 here if you want to run this Boo 4 because they both have synergy with the named cards, especially the Absorbing Drill, which is really crazy. And with that said, of course, the name cards, you're going to have your 3 setups. If you do start the Fat one of the best parts about running this level 1 is you get these out of the deck right out of the gate. So you have your Candy Beam live. You'll have kind of any type of board hate that you really want. On top of the fact that Candy Beam is also an anti-attach card hate if it gets knocked out of your deck. So again, there's just so much covered by Boo. Villain specifically, starting with that Fat Boo one, just having all of this options for board removal, which if as you can see, if you look at our list, there really isn't much board removal. There is a little bit when it's in their deck, but not much once it's out of the deck. And then, of course, finally, again, the Candy Beam is there, and the Absorbing Drill is just a really stupidly powerful card that doesn't go away when you go up levels, and you're able to tutor with the Super Boo 2 and 4. So just things to consider. Very much up to you to kind of play it and see how you feel. Again, there are incentives for running Boo 3 and 4, Kid Boo stack, just for some extra longevity, giving your attacks more damage, etc.
Another good thing to note about Boo is that if you do run Boo's Absorbing Drill, you do have another way to trigger the discard outlet for some of your cards, such as Black Check or Black Corruption, or even Black Command. Just a fun way to kind of get some of those out of the hand and to get their effects going if you don't need them for their original intent. As well as when you get to some of those higher levels, you can reveal it instead, and some of those effects will still trigger from trying to discard the card.
Yeah, like Black Pressure Point, for example.
And our last MP, just another fun one that you can run in this type of build, is Bardock. See Bardock often, but this would definitely be a great build to run him in. Not only because you'll get to see his higher levels with so much anger, but a lot of his effects help mesh well with the mastery. So, for example, Bardock level 1, whenever a player searches your opponent's life deck, so it could be you or your opponent, raise your anger 1. So, a lot of Black's cards, for example, Black Dash, any of them that are going to search, like Black Mischief as well, Black Schematic, instantly become 3 anger cards. And then you can always use the regular effect to destroy more cards from the deck. Search your opponent's life deck for another card. So a way to sculpt really early. Then is level 2. 3 and 4 allow you to see the hand. So then Black Swirl becomes a really good combo piece because you will always see the hand. You'll always know what cards your opponents have, and you can easily name a card that they just can't play that combat. But another thing is that the level 2 plays off really well from the destroy effect from the mastery. So then your mastery instantly becomes 2 anger as well. And so it just plays off really good with a lot of these black effects of destroying cards from the deck whenever they draw. Level 3, a little less so is when it tends to slow down, but searching and sculpting your opponent's deck, removing their attacks, or removing any other styled threats is also just really good. And choosing a player to rearrange the cards is also good. And then that level 4, man, where your opponent discards their hand every combat, plus a Mischievous Mastery that could rip another card from their hand. They're only gonna have 3 cards at one time, sometimes only 2.
Yeah,
So
this level 4 is pretty brutal. This 3 and 4 are both incredibly good levels. I think this, yeah.
mm.
Oh boy.
Some other more unique cards that you can run: Bardock's Riot Javelin, fun little card that you can throw in if you want to copy to destroy a card from your opponent's life deck, which goes well with that level 2 to gain an anger and then play a copy of that card in your next action. Black Taunt. Again, you're going to have lots of anger, so you're going to be milling a lot with this card. But as your opponent shuffles the hand into the deck and draws, you would gain another mill and some anger. So instantly with that level 2, whenever effects destroy cards from your opponent's life deck, you may raise your anger 1. Well, guess what? Black Taunt has now become a 2 anger card and a shuffle their hand into the life deck, which you already see. So you know if you want to go up against that hand or not. It's a lot of fun.
Oh man.
Black Days. Because on levels 2 through 4, you get to see the hand. You get to name the card because you can see it. And your opponent's hand's already revealed, so they don't need to reveal it again. And then that card gets shuffled in the left life deck, and then both people draw a card. So it's a +1 card for you. Yeah, your opponent draws a card, but then guess what? They mill a card.
And you get an anger.
And you gain an anger from that mill and the search. So this is instantly just an amazing 2 anger card on level 1, and even on level 2. Guess what? It's another 2 anger card.
Yeah.
Fun times with Bardock if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Just plays on the synergy of the mastery, goofing your hand on. Not only do you goof your opponent's hand up with the mastery, but then you get to completely play around and know and be even more destructive with their hand with cards that just give you anger and just mill your opponent and just annoy the shit out of your opponent. Bardock just completely helps destroy hand consistency. So. An MP we did not mention, and some of you might be upset who are more seasoned players, is going to be Android 17. While we do feel Android 17 Mischievous is one of the best maybe pairings for Mistress Mastery, we are trying to keep, I think, kind of are in the agreement that that deck is a little harder to play, and so it's a little bit more of one of those like, yeah, it's something you should be on your radar once you get some more experience with this mastery, or if you want to be a control player. But not for this build, as far as a beginner build goes. So. I don't know if Jeff.
Definitely not an anger build.
Definitely not, and very much.
This is all about the anger.
And
Android 17. We may do a future video on that specific deck with this mastery. But that is a deck that does not want to level.
Mm,
So here we are having a bunch of anger that for beginner build person we would recommend this
yeah.
because again just a lot more potential with any of your favorite characters from the game. Just a really solid deck and ways to learn how these cards interact with each other and some very good combos that are easy to understand.
Yes, sir. Well, as always, guys, this is another episode of Beginner Builds. We are getting close to the end of our initial run of the two masteries per style, and then after that point, we'll just slowly pick away at what's left. And generally speaking, uh, we'll probably go off more suggestion at that point, or just kind of how we feel, um, what we feel. I guess we want to do. But I hope you guys have been enjoying. And Jeff, as always, thank you for being my co-host.
Happy building.
Happy building, guys. Take it easy. Peace.